Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Monday morning live stream. It's Monday. It is literally Monday. And the stock market over the weekend, I guess since we last talked on Friday, was incredibly interesting because some stuff happened that I don't think any of us expected, including when I left the stream on Friday. The Teslas of the world dropped in some value. It was pretty rough for them. So we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff. And we're going to be kind of going as deep as we can into what's going on in the markets itself. Good morning, bros. D. Williams, what's up? Richard, what's up? We actually just did a episode of Money Talks live. So I just got done finishing doing that live because our producer, Grace, she couldn't join today because she's sick. Hope she gets better. So we did it live, and it was kind of fun doing it live. It was, being live on what do you call it? On TV. Or YouTube, which is TV now. But let's open up Webull. By the way, we did that on Tom's channel if anyone wants to check that out. So let's open up Webull. Let's see what's kind of going on in the market. Things in pre-market are looking a bit nasty. Definitely not as nice as we would expect them to be looking. So, I mean, they're looking okay, right? So QQQ is up 0.62%. Tesla's down 0.96%, so it's down to about 657 pre-market. S&P is at the 380s. It's up about 1%. It's at 393 pre-market. We're going to see how that ultimately opens up. Google down, just got over 2,200 in the pre-market. It's up 0.75%. And the NASDAQ still down to lows, 30% for year to date, or 28%, 11,300. What's going to be very interesting is going to see how the market reacts now, right? What's going on in the market now? How does the market feel now? What are like the things that the market is ultimately pricing in into, the nature of how the stock market is evolving today? Yo, Amit, what's up? What up, Amit? Sound levels are super low. Let me change that real quick. Thank you for letting me know. That might be on my end, actually. Okay, let's put the volume up. It should be better now. So that's what we've kind of got on going in the market. Now, what are some of the core issues that we are dealing with today? Well, number one is that SpaceX just got a new valuation, for those who don't know. SpaceX is now and Starbucks. Oh, wow, this is breaking news. So Starbucks is exiting Russia after 15 years, closed 113 licensed cafes. Wow. It will pay its nearly 2,000 Russian workers for 6 months. So it's giving severance to 2,000 workers for 6 months. That's a good thing. Look, with what Russia's going on, it makes sense for companies to leave. At the end of the day, they just can't support some of the stuff that Russia is doing. The coffee giant announced Monday that it will no longer have a brand presence in Russia. 130 locations would account for less than 1% of the company's annual revenue. So it's not the biggest hit, but it does make sense for them to leave and to not, be complicit in what's going on. SpaceX also just got a recent valuation at $127 billion, which is kind of insane. Now, granted, the argument is, do you trust Elon to just go to the moon and do it? Or do you not trust Elon and assume that $127 billion is too much? And I think, if I had to invest in SpaceX, I would invest in SpaceX because it's SpaceX at the end of the day. Namir says, LOL, might as well repeat this. Petersburg Stock Exchange shut down in 1914 when World War I began, briefly opened in 1917, then shut down for the next 75 years when the Russian Revolution began. Interesting. Did not know that. Now the volume's too loud. Okay, let's reduce the volume a little bit. Other than that, first of all, who bought the dip on Tesla on Friday? Because I didn't get to talk to you guys when the dip was going down badly. So who bought the dip on Tesla? I did not. I did not. I was a little scared of Tesla. I think it might be a little bit of a falling knife right now, but we might have a good recovery today. You don't know. The Elon situation is pretty staggering with what's going on in terms of all of his Twitter dealings. He is now a Republican as well, and he's been very vocal on Twitter about being a Republican. So, there's a lot of different stuff going on at the end of the day with people thinking about Elon and Twitter. Thanks for the volume. Hi from Germany. What's up, Tino? Thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate you being here. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Tesla. I mean, I really, really do want to see ultimately how this stock plays out, at least over today. Let's go to the Twitter sphere. Let's see if Elon has been tweeting anything. By the way, Kathy Wood, we have to talk about her. She's also agreeing with what is it? Meet Kevin on some inflationary things. Elden Ring, experienced in its entirety, is the most beautiful art I have ever seen. Okay, Elden Ring. What is this? What is Elden Ring? Elden Ring is a video game. Okay, it's a video game based on something. Or it's an actual game. Okay, I didn't know it's an actual game. Well, Elon thinks Elden Ring is the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Let's look at the comments on that. Elon is a gamer now. Yeah, it's a game. How'd you roll? I was strength fate, war pretty strong, power mage, but decent with sword katana. Will post pick of my build tomorrow. Damn, the guy plays games. Yes, playing some video games. All right, cool. Not bad. Let's go to Palantir. By the way, I have a video coming out on this, but Palantir is down 2% pre-market. Let me show you guys this. I don't know if you guys saw this. Sunday Times, Alex Karp. We have a new interview with the Palantir's chief operating officer. Palantir's chief Alex Karp, war is here. You need a pariah on your side. The chief executive says that his shadowy data firm is more vital than ever. I actually did buy the subscription. I'm going to log in. I will do a video and read this entire article for you guys, so you guys will be able to see the content. But this was this is super cool. The fact that they did a little whatever you call it, little piece on Alex Karp. I bought 15 shares, bought at 640 with margin. You guys are using margin? Oh boy. All right, well, let's see how it ultimately turns out today, and we will discuss more of it. We're going to get ready for the market open. For those who are new here, there is something here called a bell. We are not at the stock exchange. One day, if I take my startup public, I will use this bell, not the other bell. The OG supporters will know what bell I'm using. But we are about to ring the bell within about a minute. There's always a little delay here, so I'm going to try to make sure I get it on time. And we're going to see how the stock market opens. The beautiful thing about the stock market is that every day, at least Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 4 p.m., you never know what can happen. I mean, anything could happen. Bitcoin's at 30K. Okay, Bitcoin's doing a recovery. So we're going to see what happens with the stock market today. Coinbase at 66. Home Depot, 287. It's up about 1% in pre-market. We're going to see how the market takes the stock market and ultimately what the market decides to do for this market. All right, we're ready. The market is open. Wake your ass up. It is time to see what's going on in this stock market. And we are ultimately going to find out the fate and the destiny and the trajectory of various different stocks that are going on today. We're live. What do we got? Okay, we've got red. We've got some green. Spotify, 106. Not too bad to open the market. Enphase, 166. Netflix, 187. Not bad. Rather flat this morning. Let's go to Palantir. Palantir is down below 8. All right, so we're down about 2%. Palantir is down, which means that Tesla is also down 653. So Tesla hit 630s on Friday. So it's not like it can't go back there and test that level. I mean, I guess we're going to see if it actually is able to do that, but that's kind of what we have right now. Chris Patel says Kathy must be desperate if she's agreeing with Meet Kevin. Interesting. Stevie Stone, you have the market open time to nail to a Tina. Yeah, if I couldn't fix the delay, I figured out how to get the market open correctly. So at least we're doing that. We're going to talk about the Kathy Wood Meet Kevin stuff. I mean, they were talking about inflation and supply chains and inventories, which is kind of Kathy's bread and butter. So that's like the core thing that does that. Okay. So Tesla's at 656, QQQ 290. Where's SPY? ARK is 41. ARK is down a little bit. And let's hit SPY, and then we're gonna go into Kathy Wood's Meet Kevin thread. SPY's at 392. Okay. So let's go into this for those who didn't see it. I have so many tabs open, by the way. I need to definitely get rid of some tabs. Like, I have a ridiculous number of tabs open. Amit, what price does Tesla start becoming buy for you? 500. I'll probably buy 1 share. In this episode or later, Amit, please do a DCF on Weejo. That's a good idea. I will probably look into trying to do a DCF on Weejo. Weejo is... I've never bought Weejo because I'm like, why would you buy Weejo? Just buy Palantir. But, like, I could understand why people are interested in that. Yeah, 500 Tesla's interesting. If it hits the 500, like 599, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm really interested in Tesla. I just think there's more pain from 600, unfortunately, or from 650. Now, I could be wrong on that, and I could miss Tesla, and I'm totally okay with that. But I do think, you know, again, there's zero reason for us to have any positive catalyst in the market. Like, zero reason. And maybe Kathy Wood thinks there's a reason. We'll talk about it in a second. But as of now, I think there's still some more pain to go. So, Meet Kevin tweeted, he was at the Olin Summit, Elon Musk on why we have inflation. The obvious reason for inflation is the government printed a zillion more dollars than it has. Velocity of money held constant. This is not, like, super complicated. Kathy Wood quotes it's the morning. Kathy Wood quote tweets this. Important debate. In the last 2 days, Walmart and Target reported that nominal sales increased 34% on a year-over-year basis during the quarter ended in April, translating to 3 to 4% year-over-year decline in unit sales. Their inventories are exploding. Walmart's inventories increased 33% in nominal terms on a year-over-year basis, translating to 20 to 25% in real terms, as Target inventories increased by 42% respectively. In my 45 years in business, I have never seen such inventory excesses. U.S. consumer sentiment, as measured by the University of Michigan, the best measure in my experience, has plunged to levels not seen since the 08-09 global crisis. Consumers are rebelling against their loss of purchasing power. I believe that after flattening out for the past 2 years, the velocity of money will resume the decline that started in 1997 and accelerated during the coronavirus. The dramatic decline in consumer sentiment and spending during the past few months corroborates this thinking. So what she's saying here, to back up a little bit, is that if consumers aren't buying as much stuff because demand is going down, but inventories, as per Walmart, are increasing by upwards of 33% or 25% for unit levels of inventory inside those stores, then that means that inventories are exploding. Why is it good that inventories are exploding? Because if you have more supply and less demand, consumers are buying less TVs, but you have more TVs, the prices for those TVs will go down, which means inflation will go down, which means the Fed doesn't have to be super aggressive on interest rates, which means growth stocks, boom, to the moon. That's what she thinks is going to happen. And the data so far, at least for Walmart and Target, are on her side, but we've got to have a lot more data in to really be able to make this analysis make sense at scale. Amit, don't you think you'll regret not buying? You said you'd buy in 600, not 500. No, I'm not going to regret not buying. I have a startup on the side. I have a lot of stuff in my life. I'm not going to regret not buying Tesla. Like, you know, it's just at 500, I think it gets stupid. But at 650, I still think there could be some more pain. So we'll see what happens. Now that the growth in M2 has declined to low single digits at an annualized rate during the last few months, if the velocity of money does decline, then we will be facing a risk of price deflation, which means she thinks that because there's not enough money in the system, the Fed is doing quantitative tightening, they're taking money out of the system, the velocity of money is going to decline because you're going to have more money but less value for it, or same number of dollars, less value for it, then we will be having deflation, not inflation, which is kind of interesting. Consistent with this line of thinking, credit default swaps, the price of insurance policies against default as measured by market, are surging. The yield curve is flattening, protecting disappointing growth and or lowering inflation, and stock prices are plummeting, obviously because growth stocks are getting hammered. And then this is her like warning. I trust that Fed Chairman Powell and the Federal Reserve governors and presidents are evaluating more than the short-term supply chain bottlenecks that may have been caused by over-ordering and are now showing up Walmart's and Target's record-breaking inventories. Going back to her thesis that Walmart and Target are the sole reasons for why the Fed needs to look at interest rates a lot more seriously and inflation with what's going on. So Tesla, by the way, it says 640 now, down 2%. Palantir is 795. So I get her argument. Her argument makes a lot of sense. The question now is how true is this inventory stock up? Because if it's not really as big of a deal as she says it is, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. If it is a pretty big deal, then we're going to see inflation coming down. Really, we'll know in the next couple months. We will know if inflation is going down in the next couple months, and inventories and consumer demand and her entire thesis that she started talking about in December when she created the term deep value territory. Obviously, it's probably gone on longer for what she thought, but she will be correct if inflation starts to go down because of inventories, and we will see. Apple, 138, and it's up on the day. That means it closed on Friday in the 130s. Wow. Reformed Gamer says we've heard her say this before. Didn't plan out as she said. Yes, we've heard her say this before, but now she has some data with inventories, so she's not like. At least there's some logic here. Blake says I'll ask you the same question in 2030. Look, I think Tesla's gonna be big, man. I also don't have the money to just like splurge at 650 and then watch it drop to 550 and be down on my money. Like I'm already down so much money. I have to be very selective with how I buy stocks now. So the camera just shut off. Let me switch the display. But if you ask me my like opinion on buying Tesla, I think Tesla's a great buy right now. I just like personally, I have to be a little bit more frugal and careful with my investments. So I'm like, we'll see if it goes a little bit lower. That's it. Let's look at this other thing Kathy said, which was really interesting. She got flamed by this a little bit. She was talking about AI, right? And so Brett Winton, her analyst, says you are distracted by noise. Over the past 2 months, the estimated time to artificial general intelligence has fallen between 60 to 7%. For those who don't know what AGI is, let's look up the definition. Adjusted gross income. That's not what I was looking for. There we go. Artificial general intelligence is the ability of an intelligent agent to understand or learn any intellectual task that a human being can. It is the primary goal of some artificial intelligence research and a common topic in science fiction and future studies. Basically, it's like full-on sentient robots that can do what humans do. And he tweeted, find me a chart that is more macroeconomically meaningful than this one. I'll wait. Let's look at the chart. Years until AGI, Metaculus prediction. Metaculus is a think tank, by the way. I believe they are. So as you can see, the chart is going down and down and down, which is good because it means the cost that it takes to train a model, the costs go down if the model gets more data, right? So the more data in the model, the more the costs go down. Well, how does the model get more data? You have to conduct more experiments. You have to fill in all the variables with all these different elements. It's like the Tesla full self-driving, right? The reason Tesla's going to win in full self-driving is because no other car company has the level of data and the AI to interpret that data to be able to make a self-driving vehicle. Tesla does. So if that on a macroeconomic level is going down 60 to 70% almost every year, I believe it's getting halved in every year, then we are going to have a ton of AI resources to be able to have AGI potentially in the future. That's the argument. Kathy says, ARK Invest must share more about our research about AGI and how it is likely to transform the way the world works. Within 6 to 12 years, breakthroughs in AGI could accelerate growth in GDP from 3 to 5% per year to 30 to 50% per year. New DNA will win. Someone says, I'm currently all in on TARK. This will turn out really dumb or really lucky, but maybe both. DRK, morning, everybody. Yeah, it's interesting, man. She's saying 30 to 50% GDP growth per year. Let's look at the global GDP. Global GDP per year. So, global domestic product in 2013 was $71 trillion. No, 71 trillion. Let's say GDP of the United States. GDP of the US. 20 trillion. Okay? So if she's estimating we're growing 30 to 50% year over year on GDP. Let's just say in the Americas, forget like the whole world. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for us to be able to grow. Like a really, really, really vast amount of money. And I don't know if we get there. I mean, maybe not. But it is a lot of money. Now, the way that happens at the end of the day is if ultimately the effects of AGI are so consequential. Like, so Tesla self-driving, that's super consequential. That's going to unlock new forms of productivity. Other companies that are doing things in the metaverse, that would unlock different forms of opportunities in economics. Now, the problem is Palantir is using AI at the edge. They're using AI at a fundamentally different level. Now, Palantir is not using AGI, which is like creating a robot that can do stuff like a Tesla robot. But it's just interesting she would sell out a Palantir. I guess her entire thesis on AI doesn't include Palantir, which is like, okay. All right. I maybe because they're not doing AGI, but AI at the edge, the stuff that Palantir has been able to create, Metaconstellate, like there's some stuff Palantir is doing that's really hard for me to get on her train. That the 30 to 50% year-over-year growth in artificial intelligence has nothing to do with one of the companies that is the premier companies at working with AI and machine learning. I mean, I guess we will ultimately see what happens. Tesla 645, Palantir recovered at $8. Google 21.95. Google, my price target on that 1800, 1900. That 1800 Google, 500, 90ish Tesla. I probably start buying those. Jeremy Grantham, I don't know if you guys know this guy. He recently did an interview with what's his name, Ray Dalio, and he had a lot to say. I didn't watch the full thing, but he did do an interview, and he basically discussed a lot of stuff. Now, mainly, his argument was this crash is the worst crash since 2000. His argument is this is one of the worst. It's going to be worse than 2000. And then you got people like Dan Ives that are like, this is a generational buying opportunity. So, I don't know. We will see what happens. Chris says, why are we trying to end the world quicker? Didn't no one watch Terminator? AI is still a ways away from becoming reality. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Do you get nervous about Cathie Wood allegedly sold Palantir due to possible inside knowledge of government slowdown? That does make me nervous a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because government revenue is slowing down for Palantir. So I mean, obviously she had some inside information that's happening. The question is, do you sell Palantir based on their governmental revenue? I don't think so. Now, I also think the Ukraine-Russia stuff is going to lead to accelerate Palantir, and the Sunday Times piece that came out that I'm going to do a video on my channel in a couple of hours. It's going to really highlight what Palantir is thinking about when it comes to a chaotic world. And as a result of that, I do think it's going to accelerate them to new markets in which governments wouldn't have bought them before. Now they're going to buy them because they recognize the value of them. And Cathie might have just been right, but she also didn't expect Ukraine to happen, and then she's kind of wrong about the thesis. So I do think Palantir will be fine long-term with the government. But it does worry me that the government stuff slowed down. I ultimately think it won't be a big deal, but the next quarters are going to prove how big of a deal it is. It's just interesting. 30 to 55% year-over-year growth is a lot, right? It's a lot for just AI advancements, especially when AI is like. Does anyone really think we're gonna have self-driving robo-taxis in the next 5 years? The amount of regulations that exist, the amount of the car would have to be so smart to be able to drive you anywhere you want, just pick you up and you're in the car and you have no issues. You're in the car, you don't ever have to touch the driving wheel. There's if there's a sudden stop or something, like, it'll just be fine. There's gonna be no crashes. Like, it's hard to believe that's just gonna happen immediately. I think it's gonna take a lot more time. We'll have to see. Let's look at Dan Ives talk about how this is a generational buying opportunity. Or not Dan Ives. Yeah, Dan Ives. CNBC. There's a recent one. Okay, here we go. No. Oh, I think I already saw that one. Okay, so let's go to a different one. Yeah, I saw the generation buying opportunity on Friday, actually. That's why. That's the same one I had in my head. Okay, let's look at some new videos. This guy's a very respected guy, Mohammed. The market sell-off does not concern the Fed. So let's hear some thoughts on how the Fed doesn't care about the market sell-off.
Says the market sell-off could be entering a new phase. For more on what he means by that, let's bring in Mohammed El-Arian. He's chief economic advisor at Allianz and the president of Queens College at Cambridge University. Mohammed, when you say a new phase, is this a good new phase or a bad new phase?
No, it's a worrisome new phase. Becky, the big question for me is, why haven't we had more of a bounce in what has been a relentless period of 7 to 8 weeks of weekly declines? And I think the answer is because we continue to get bad news. Think of Friday 10 days ago. We had a wonderful bounce. Then comes the new week. Then comes Walmart. Then comes Target. And suddenly we have legitimate concerns about growth and earnings. So we need to get these worries out of the way before we can establish a good bottom and get a sustainable bounce.
So again, his argument is like, bruh, we need to rip the Band-Aid off. I've been saying this too. I'm like, I don't really want that many green days. I just want it to go down and then let's go back up. The question is, this is going to be a much more painful way to go down. As you can see, S&P down 18% year to date, Dow down 13%, and NASDAQ down 27%. So it's a pretty bad market. It's just a question of how much worse can it get and how quick can that happen before we rebound.
Statistics, looking at the numbers, the Dow did something last week that it hasn't done in almost 100 years. It's been 99 years since the Dow ended down for 8 weeks in a row. Maybe that goes to your point, just the idea that this has been a slow and painful process. steady. And so people say that doesn't concern the Fed. This is still orderly at this point, but it is steep and it is painful and it is consistent.
It is. And even if it were to concern the Fed, and it doesn't concern the Fed because market functioning has been fine, and that's really the silver lining. But even if it were to concern the Fed is highly constrained. The inflation isn't going to go away.
And he's right. The Fed doesn't have a lot they can do here, right? They can't bail us out. They can't save us
anytime soon. And the Fed just can't go back to its old habit of being there, of having a Fed put, of injecting liquidity. What we see now is that the Fed is constrained. And also, the Fed must keep an eye on the fact that the 60-40 portfolios have done really badly. And that's because the safe haven characteristics of government bonds were totally distorted by Fed intervention. So I don't think the Fed steps in anytime soon.
Hey, Mohammed, I'd love to get your views on this. I was at a dinner last night where there was a great debate among two very well-known CEOs, one of whom thought this was an 18-month, at worst, scenario. Another had a view that this was actually going to be a 3 to 4 year, if not more prolonged situation, and actually that the equity market was actually not going to really flush out till 2024 based on the fact that he believed earnings were going to continue to decline, and because we haven't really seen that in a truly meaningful way. Which side of that debate here in Davos would you take?
Yeah, but if you're sitting in the real economy, you're not just worried about inflation, profit margins, and growth. You are seeing a global economy that's being rewired by government and geopolitical issues, rewired by your own desire to build in resilience. Forget about the just-in-time. You now have to have a lot more resilience built in. So when you look at that outlook, both externally and internally, you'll find that people in the real economy are even more negative than people in the financial sector. And that's what I think you're picking up at that dinner when people say, is it 18 months or is it longer? It's the structure of the global economy that they are operating in is uncertain and is certainly changing.
This is a smart guy, man. Basically, his argument is like, look, like, things are fundamentally different in the macro political, geopolitical economy. And because things are that different, it's not just the question of equities getting flushed out by 2024. Things get like buying a stock is so different than it was 3-4 years ago. Because when you buy a piece of a company, you have to factor in supply chain, inflation, interest rates, geopolitical issues, how the market is going to respond to any one of those issues happening or happening at the same time, how a company is going to be able to grow into the future, into their valuation, if they're overvalued or if they're undervalued, and how much more lower can they go, right? Palantir at $8 is amazing, but like it could absolutely go to $3-4. There's no reason it couldn't. So buying a stock of a company is a little bit different now. I mean, it's you really got to think if you're buying the index, it's like, all right, but I think the index could go down more as well. But buying an individual stock, it's like you don't know which of these ones are gonna pan out. And I think his argument is that the entire economy has changed, the entire structure of humanity has changed. We had a global pandemic, right? So, who knows when that's gonna be fixed? NASDAQ up 1%, not too bad today. Dead cat bounce. Yeah, I think there's not really even a bounce. I mean, there's green in the market, but it's like 0.45%, nothing crazy. Bitcoin's doing well. If the market is crazy right now, Bitcoin is one of those things that's even more interesting, given it was at 26,000, 28,000. Now it's right back up to 30. I don't know about Bitcoin, man. I've always been scared of just holding crypto at this time. I know some of you hold crypto. Some of you don't. Peloton going to 1. Why is Peloton going to 1? But maybe it's the best hedge against it. I don't know. Peloton's down another 6%. What's going on? Did Peloton report something or something? Peloton. Did they do something? No. They're just down. Yeah, Peloton's down. Okay, all right. Peloton's going down, blah, 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 based on the notion that even a dead cat bounce will... Yeah, so the dead cat bounce is called based on a notion that even a dead cat will bounce if it falls far enough and fast enough. We've still got a long way down. Buy energy, guys. That's the message from Chris. Buy energy. All right, well, nothing too crazy going on in the market. Definitely the Elon Musk saga is, I think, the biggest story. Ultimately, is the deal going to close? I don't know. We're going to see. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, then maybe investors are happy because Elon's just focusing on Tesla and SpaceX. If it does, then there's obviously another distraction because he would be the default CEO most likely. I think we're definitely months away from seeing a conclusion to that saga. In the meantime, Elon Musk's name is going to be in the headlines even more. I mean, he's going to, Elon's Elon at the end of the day. And if Elon's Elon, we're going to see what ends up happening with what he's going to do. Gas prices are going to stay up for the next 3 to 5 years. Chris, why do you put a smiley face at the end of that? Like, that's not cool, bro. That's not, he's like, yeah, gas prices are going to be up 3 to 5 years. We're in a super cycle of demand and lack of investment over the last 5 years. You could be right about everything, Chris. I think the canary in the coal mine here is inflation. If inflation goes down, does that trigger the Fed to stop worrying about interest rates? Does that trigger supply chains to get better? Does that trigger so many different butterfly effects? Imagine inflation gets down to 5% by the end of the year. That's not amazing, but like that's not horrible. And then 3% by the end of the next 2 years, like it could, it might be decent. But if that doesn't happen and we don't figure out this inflation mess, we're in a bad rough. Chris says because he's heavy in energy. Okay, now we know. Quarantine Chris says he probably has a Tesla. No, he's just heavy in energy, so he wants his energy stocks to do well. All right, thank you guys for joining me. Check out Money Talks. It was on Tom's channel today. We live streamed it because we weren't able to do the pre-recorded show. I hope you guys enjoy it. A lot of videos coming out today. I have a video covering the Alex Karp new Palantir piece. I'm going to be covering Kathy Wood's artificial intelligence supply chain inventory stuff. I'm going to be doing a couple of different videos on Palantir and some different like stories that kind of broke out. Also, this website, for those who haven't checked out, dailypalantir.com, is going to be very active this week. We're going to have a lot of articles coming out. Dailypalantir.com. You can subscribe. You get a newsletter on Thursday for free. And hope you guys enjoy. So make sure you check it out. Lots and lots of news coming out for Palantir today. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Asim says, you think we're close to a bottom for growth stocks? I do not. I think we are capitulating, but I do not think we are close to the bottom. I mean, I think the sentiment is like it's bad, but there's a world in which it gets to 3,400 on the S&P, which is what Morgan Stanley is saying, JP Morgan is saying, and Goldman Sachs is saying. And that's where I think we're more near to a bottom. But stocks can keep going down. It could go down to 3,000. It could go down in half. We could lose. The S&P went down in half. Went from 150 to 75, 2009. So if we were to go down in half, we would be at 170 something. I don't think it gets that bad because I think things are different than they were back then. But I do think we have some more room to fall down, and then we'll see ultimately what happens. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you tomorrow, 9:20 a.m. live stream. And see you then. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.